Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. And the Saints got into some OTAs today. Fletcher Mackel filling in for our guy Sharif Ishak down at WDSU joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Fletcher, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Happy to help Sharif out on his off day. He said, he rarely ever talks about his personal life. So when he said he had some life stuff to take care of, I thought, okay, that's like a first in a decade. So he's usually always talking sports and living sports.
He's our guy. We love chatting with him on Tuesday, but we appreciate you giving us some time here. What was the turnout like at Saints OTA as far as the players are concerned? Just about full participation?
Yeah, 80 of 89 guys were here. And, most of obviously the big, names, the new signees, Derek Carr was here, Jamal Williams was here, Foster Moreau was here on the field, Tyrann Mathieu. There were 9 players not here, but I'd say 80 of 89 at voluntary is pretty solid.
Give me the outlook on Derek Carr, kind of his vibe, energy level. Things ended pretty rocky there in Vegas. I think it's probably a pretty nice fresh start.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And look, he looks good. I mean, you see the ability when you see the ball come out of somebody's hand, and he's got a ton of it. I don't think anybody ever questioned his ability. I think it was, the lack of success. He had individual success. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, but never had much team success. But I do think that you see someone that is a legit NFL quarterback and a starting NFL quarterback, which for this franchise is something they haven't had since Drew Brees left. I mean, we had the Taysom experiment, which I was a fan of. And then we had the Reclamation Project that was Jameis, and obviously neither one of those was successful. What you see here is a legit NFL quarterback. And I made this comparison, and people get so upset. I think the floor for Derek Carr is Kirk Cousins. And I think the ceiling could be a Matthew Stafford-like situation with the LA Rams. And people get so upset when I say Kirk Cousins. But here's the thing. Forget that Cousins has been to the playoffs like 3 times with Minnesota. They won the division last year. They beat the Saints in a playoff game. I don't mean that as a backhanded compliment. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Not great, but good. And for the last 2 years, this team has not had quarterback play that is even close to good. It's been, at best, woefully mediocre, and at a lot of times pretty disastrous.
When you look at the Carr edition, you look at some of the things they've done at the skill positions, how much better does this offense look on paper? They got to do it in the fall, but does it look on paper than what it looked like at the beginning of last season?
So I'll say this, because Derek Carr is a legit quarterback, it's automatically better. I still think you have question marks at the receiver position because Michael Thomas is a huge question mark. Is he going to play? I mean, look, Dennis Allen said that he had hardware removed from his foot. Is he ever going to be right? I mean, is this something that it's going to continue to linger? And he took a big pay cut this year. Is he going to play this year? Look, we don't know. They say he is, but they said he was going to play last year. He played 3 games and missed 14. I think Chris Olave's got a lot of great potential. Rashid Shaheed was a nice story last year, but I still think, I look at the weapons Carr has, and I say, sure, it should be better one because a healthy offensive line and Derek Carr. And Jamal Williams is a nice addition at running back, and Kamara's still here, and there's still nice pieces here. But I think the biggest reason why this offense should be better is a real quarterback operating the offense. And on top of that, the Saints, look, the NFC is so much weaker than the AFC, and the NFC South is the worst in the NFC. So just on paper, the Saints look like a, legit contender. I can make an argument that they're probably the 4th to 6th best team in the NFC just because the AFC is so much stronger. But I do think, getting back to your original question of the offense will be better because you have a real starting NFL quarterback. Whether you think he's top 10 or 10 through 20, he is a legit starting quarterback in the NFL, and they just haven't had that here. I mean, they played 6 guys in 2 years, none with any degree of success, unless you count Andy Dalton, and I don't know if I would call that a ton of success.
I wouldn't either. Fletcher Mackel is our guest at Fletcher WDSU on Twitter. You mentioned there a healthy offensive line. What's the update on Trevor Penning and Cesar Ruiz, who have been battling some injuries?
Yeah, they're still recovering. They were out there today, but didn't do much. Dennis Allen, says they're on pace to be full goes for training camp, both recovering from foot issues, and they've got them penciled in. So, again, if they're healthy, look, Eric McCoy, before his injury, was a top 10 center in the NFL and got a huge payday because of it. Ryan Ramczyk should be healthy after knee issues and is one of the best right tackles in the NFL. And then they're big on Penning, and he looks the part. I mean, when you talk about a guy who passes the eyeball test as a mauler at left tackle, he's it. Now, can he refine his technique and stay away from the penalties? We'll see. And then, look, their guards have dealt with issues, Ruiz and Andres Pete. But when they play, look, Ruiz has gotten a lot better from when he was drafted at Michigan and was trending bust. He had a really solid year last year before injury. And then Pete, I know he's a lightning rod for fan frustration because of his salary, but when he's healthy, he's a really solid cog in the offensive line. If they're healthy for Carr, it may be the best offensive line he's ever had. And they did add depth. Look, James Hurst was a starter for this team the last couple of years, and he's going to be a backup at tackle, but he's a legit starting caliber player in the NFL. And then they drafted the guy Nick Salvaderi out of Old Dominion, who I think is going to be a backup guard and could eventually replace Ruiz and or Pete, who are both free agents after this year.
Look, I'm far from an oncologist, but I was a little surprised to see pictures of Foster Moreau out there participating in football practice based on the diagnosis that we got in pretty recent past. What can you tell us about his progression and his involvement in OTAs?
So he actually just talked. I mean, literally, I answered the phone as he was wrapping up his media availability, and he was pretty insightful. He talked about the type of cancer that he had and the fact that he didn't have to go through chemo. They discovered and enlarged the lymph node, and he started treatment immediately, and they caught it early enough. And he said one of the things that jumped out to me was that his quality of life, even going through the treatments he's going through, has not changed that much because he's not going through an aggressive form of chemotherapy. And he talked about the people that do have to deal with that and young people that have to deal with that and how life-changing it is. He said the news was life-changing when you hear you have cancer, but the prognosis and the recovery has been very good. So he said from a physical standpoint, he has had very little to no difference because it was detected early enough, and the treatment and recovery that he's going through isn't as invasive as people who've had more aggressive forms of cancer treatment.
That's just phenomenal to hear, and I think it's a great fit with the Saints and with this offense and with the quarterback that he played with. Do you agree?
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah, and look, here's the thing. Foster Moreau, again, I talked about Kirk Cousins, and, we live in a world right now where everybody wants you're a superstar or you're a bust. And, I hate to say that sometimes things are so polarizing, it's got to be one extreme or the other, and I'm more of a middle-of-the-path person. I think Foster Moreau is a really, really solid starting tight end in the league. He can put his hand in the dirt and line up and run block for you. He can run routes, and they're crisp, and he's an underrated receiver. I think he's, a really solid fit here. Knows Derek Carr. He joked about how the cadences were pretty easy for him because he's heard them for the past few years, and I think he's going to fit like a glove here. They needed a starting tight end. Adam Troutman kind of fell out of favor a little bit, and he's going to be their guy, no doubt about it. And then they have like Juwan Johnson, who's more of a supersized wide receiver that moves to tight end, and then a gadget player like Taysom Hill. So I certainly think they've got a solid room there.
Third-team quarterbacks don't generally generate a lot of buzz, but Jake Haener did something in a photo shoot. Can you fill us in on this?
Yeah, so the NFL Players Association had their annual rookie photo shoot. They invite a handful of rookie players, and Jake Haener it's the first time these guys put on their game uniforms. It was Kendre Miller, the running back out of TCU, and Jake Haener, and it's very Derek Zoolander-like, if you will. I don't think they intentionally tried to go for blue steel or whatever the other poses are in Derek Zoolander, Ferrari or Tigre or whatever they are, but they unintentionally did something funny of him posing in the photos getting out because again, it's pretty. Go to social media and just punch Jake Haener into Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and you'll see the photos of him in his Saints uniform, and they are pretty unintentionally funny. And look, he was a good sport. Somebody tweeted it, and then he retweeted back with the laughing and the clapping, and so I think he's perfectly fine to be in on the joke.
He's going to pay for that in the locker room. I'm just telling you, they're going to let him have it for that one. That's the way that goes. Fletcher, thanks so much. We appreciate your time for filling in Sharif, and we'll do it again soon.
All right. I hope I lived up to Sharif's high standards.
You certainly did. That's not a huge bar, though, by the way. Thanks, Fletcher. Fletcher Mackel, WDSU sports anchor down there in New Orleans, covering the Saints. We'll keep a thumb on OTAs and continue as things move forward. It's right now it's guys in shorts and helmets running around, but I think for me the story is not only is Foster Moreau there just like hanging out, he's out there with a helmet on, going through drills, and again, like maybe that's to be expected when you catch this kind of cancer that early. I'm not an oncologist, as I said. I have no knowledge of what goes into a cancer diagnosis and treatment of said diagnosis. But you hear the word, it just scares you to your core, and then all of a sudden you look up a couple months later, and there he is signing a huge contract and working out with the Saints. It's fantastic. It's great news to hear there. And so hopefully everybody stays healthy. Got to build some camaraderie around Derek Carr and some new pieces on this offense. But I think everyone is on the same page with the Saints here. I don't think there's anybody who thinks the Saints are knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. I don't think there's anybody that thinks the Saints are in big trouble this year. If there is, then I haven't heard it. I think everybody's right on the fence with this. Looks like a competent team with an easy schedule, a pathetic division, and an opportunity, if a couple breaks go your way in the fall, to win 9, 10, 11 games and make the playoffs and see what happens when you get there. That's kind of what it feels like for everybody. I don't think there are a lot of people who think they're going to win 4 games. I don't think there's a lot of people who think they're going to win 15. I just think you're middling. And some would say that's not a great place to be because you're not going to draft really high and you're not going to win a Super Bowl, and you're kind of always working towards that Super Bowl. But I think it's going to make things more interesting in the fall than if they were 4-13. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.